Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Glad to see you here this morning. Thanks for coming. This morning, I have the pleasure of introducing a guest speaker, somebody that has been around Shavers Creek a long time and now part of BISI, growing to be a beautiful friend. This is Brendan Locke, and I think that you'll really enjoy what he has to bring to you this morning. So thank you.
How does this sound? Good? Awesome. So thanks, Jen. I'm one of the LCs right now helping train the next group of TAs who will take your TA's place in the fall. So today's class is on home. What feels like home to you when you see that word? Just shout it out. Family. Love. Awesome. Comfort. Keep them coming. Connection. Awesome. Looking for two more. Acceptance. I know it's 9 a.m. and I'm making you yell things at me, but I'll take one more. Forgiveness. Yeah, thank you. Those are all really great things and reminders of home. But Merriam-Webster has something different to say. The definition of home is a house, apartment, or other shelter that is the usual residence of a person, family, or household, or the place in which one's domestic affections are centered. That's pretty lame, if you ask me. I find that pretty underwhelming. Connection, love, family, acceptance, and forgiveness. Those are all things that hold a little bit more weight than that definition. And we will hear the saying, let's make this house a home. And kind of makes us think, what does that mean? What is that process to make something feel like home? And the special thing is that that's different for each and every person in this room. Home might be something that's really positive for you. It might be something that's negative, and it can be anything in between. So let's jump back in time. How did our ancestors find their home? You'll have a class in a few weeks where someone comes to talk to you about birds, but we're going to start a little early. And we may be more indebted to these little guys than we know. So Gordon Hempton, he is a sound researcher. He says that hearing is vital for all animals' survival. But what is the ear listening to? He's curious about the human range of sound. And we listen from the very low frequencies of about 20 hertz to about 20,000 hertz. So pretty broad range. But there's this narrow bandwidth between 2,500 and 5,000 hertz that kind of houses the resonant frequencies of our auditory canals in our ears. So where our hearing is the most sensitive. And it turns out that range is a perfect match for birdsong. So we evolved to have super sensitive hearing in that frequency range. And that begs the question, why would we need to hear birdsong in a super sensitive part of our ear that would allow us to hear faint birdsong from coming over a long distance? I'm glad you're awake. So if we are able to hear birds, we know that there's food, there's water, and that there's a favorable season long enough for the birds to raise their young off the nest, which means that it's a good habitat for humans and can be prosperous. And to just put that into perspective, English when spoken fits between about 100 and 200 hertz is like the average range. Other languages vary outside of that, but that's still kind of a far cry from birdsong. We're connected with Earth, and we've evolved to have that connection with birds. So what do we do here in BiSci 3? Started to explore connection. It's kind of one of the main topics, especially for part 1 of the course. Connection with self through your journals, connection with others, and connection with the environment. And you'll experience some greater connection with others. You'll have an eco meal, which also ties into your connection with the environment, and a field trip out to Shavers Creek. We're going to focus on 2 great connectors today that help us connect with those 3 things. But we're really going to focus on music. So I have possibly the hardest question, set of two questions that you'll ever hear in BiSci, and you can just answer with show of hands. Who has ever listened to music? Awesome. Yeah, shocker. And who has ever spent time outside in nature? Great. Got those 2 things in common already. So to adjust our earlier lackluster definition of home, home in a broad sense for today is going to be a connection to self, a connection to others, and a connection to the environment. And environment can mean a great many things. It can be a place, probably not Thomas 100, but it could be State College. It could be your hometown. It could be your dorm room. It could also be the earth as a whole. It's really whatever you make of it. And music connects us to all 3 of those. We'll start with music connection to nature. So music appeared very early on in the human experience. There's remnants of bone flute fragments that dated to about 40,000 years ago, remnants of ancient drums, and some believe that the large nasal cavity of Neanderthals, that's like 300,000 years ago, was responsible in creating a resonant chant. Which is pretty interesting to think of that anatomy allowing for the production of music. It's thought that music is a universal language, and we hear it everywhere, especially in nature. Maybe it was the first. Maybe it was really the first vessel for communicating with each other and the world around us. So we're going to do a listening. And I'll ask that you close your eyes so you can really allow your hearing to be as strong as possible. What is it that you notice? So you can go ahead and open your eyes. Listening through that, what came up for you? What did you notice? Can pass the mics out, TAs. Anything that you thought of or noticed?
The first thing that really came out to me is whenever like a bird kind of, I like to say like a bird spoke. Whenever a bird spoke, another one responded back.
Awesome. Yeah, lots of birds. That's a really good way to think about it. Thank you.
I mean, I kind of noticed like when there were footsteps and like when whatever that like bus full of people came, like you could hear obviously the nature noises kind of stop and like you heard the airplane and you definitely weren't hearing the water, the chirps as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. When I was trying to pick a listening example, so that was a recording from Gordon Hempton, the bird guy. And I had used a different example last semester, and the noise of the bus. I was sitting in Elixir yesterday, and it scared me so bad, and I felt my heart rate kick up, which is a really interesting response to have, but it definitely stands out and washes over all of the other noises. Anything else? So lots of sounds to be heard. I know for me, I really enjoy the water that we were able to hear there. With so many sounds in nature, it's hard to think that it doesn't feel like music at times, especially with the birds. So how does music connect us with nature? How can we strengthen that relationship? Contact with nature while being creative is shown to increase nature connection. There's a whole lot of research on it. And there's programs across the world that seek to do exactly that. There's a program in Saskatchewan, Canada called Songs for Nature. It's a week-long experience where they do guided hikes, meditations, nature writing, and group songwriting, all with the goal of strengthening that connection with each other and with nature. And art is intertwined with nature. It's a primary source for so many artists, whether it be music or any kind of visual art. So we're going to listen to some examples. We're going to start with Claude Debussy, who is thought of as one of the first impressionist composers. A lot of his music was based off of water, and reflections in the water will be this first piece. And if you feel like closing your eyes helps you listen a little bit deeper, you can go ahead. So I think that that is a really amazing example. But from listening to that, supposed to sound like reflections in the water, did you feel anything while listening to it? Do you feel the connection to water there? Nods are okay, either to the side or, yeah, I hear it. So I think it's a really neat example that's not very literal. And we'll move to a more literal example of hearing nature reflected in music. So Olivier Messiaen is a French composer, kind of an avant-garde, like early 20th century pianist. And he composed a series for solo piano where each piece is based off of a different bird. And it's pretty literal. So this is based off of the black-eared wheat ear. And I'll end that one there. But in his composition, you can really hear the bird song stand out. And it's a pretty unique sound, especially if that's not something that you're consuming every day. But it's a pretty literal interpretation of bird song. And he was inspired by all these birds to write so many pieces that reflect that. So next up is a tune by Pete Seeger. He's a very influential environmentalist, kind of spearheaded the folk revival movement of the 50s and 60s. He's from Beacon, New York, so right on the Hudson, and is kind of known as the guy who helped clean up the Hudson River. At one point, it was essentially a dead river, wasn't really able to support life. So this is an even more literal interpretation of our art connecting to nature. So that example speaks to me quite a bit, and he covers quite a few environmental practices, especially the treatment of sewage in the Hudson as a draining place. And I find that to be really interesting. So we have one more example, This is a song by Joni Mitchell. It's called Big Yellow Taxi. She was also a very popular folk artist and still is. Started in the late 1960s. So Big Yellow Taxi became somewhat of an environmentalist anthem. She took a trip to Hawaii and was struck by the view of a large parking lot. I find that song to be another really great example. Go back one. Thank you. They paved paradise. They put up a parking lot. And you don't know what you've got until it's gone. So speaking to that awareness with a really kind of joyful sounding song. The melody, the guitar makes me feel really happy, and you listen to the lyrics and the message is kind of anything but, and is quite serious. Joni Mitchell says that the clear cutting of trees as the world's population soars has caused an ecological imbalance. She spoke out against many harmful practices to our environment, such as uranium mining, overuse of sonar. She says to be a nature lover right now is to be in terrible pain. So in this class, we speak a lot about awareness, becoming fully human, and what does that really mean? And I think a large part of it is connection. And this list never ends. These are some good examples, I think, but I want to hear if you guys have any songs that came to mind as far as being connected to nature. Can do Mike's. Song that makes you feel connected to nature.
Maybe not one song specifically, but a lot of Noah Kahan's music makes me think about nature.
What is it about his music?
I think it's just the fact that it's like raw and it's not auto-tuned and there's not like a huge band or it's not like electronic music, that it's just like him and a band and a guitar, and you can tell that it's raw and real and authentic.
Yeah, thank you. So the stripped down vulnerability of it is really great.
There's a Bruce Springsteen song called The River. And it's about two people and a river, and it's kind of like the focal point around which he organizes their lives. So like their story starts at the river when they're young and stuff goes wrong around that, but they always are going back to it.
Yeah, thank you. I love Bruce, and song shows those two people's connection to nature. So thank you. I saw another hand up there.
Actually, last semester when I took this class, I felt so connected to this one artist, Novo Amor, that I even contacted the professor and just shared my connection because Novo Amor, he makes almost ethereal music that is about like native lands, about nature. He does his music videos depict like my favorite one is he created a huge like humpback whale made out of like polluted trash that he found on this native island in the Philippines. And all his music just strongly connects to nature. And I've always been so connected to him.
Thank you. And yeah, that's a great example of the activism that can come with art as well. There's one down here. Over to my left can go ahead first. Yeah.
Um, there's this one artist called Cosmo Sheldrick I listen to a lot, and he has a lot of like nature inspirations, but there's one song in particular that I really like by him. It's called a Cuckoo Song, and it's based off the bird, and the instrumentation is like super light, and there's like just sounds of nature that are just so overwhelming in comparison to his voice and like the instruments. You can like barely hear them, and it kind of just like it grounds the song in nature itself. So it's pretty, I really like it for that.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. That's great. We'll take one more that was down here.
So this kind of made me think of two songs by the Lumineers. The first one is Where the Skies Are Blue, which is basically just like it's saying that like no matter what happens, like no matter how I feel, like even if I'm sad, if I'm angry, if I'm happy, like you can always find me where the skies are blue, like finding comfort in like the sky, which I connect to a lot. And then the second one is Dead Sea, which is basically using the Dead Sea as like a huge metaphor for like being in love with someone. It's like you'll never sink when you're with me because the Dead Sea, like you can't sink. And like the first time I heard that song was after I visited the Dead Sea. So it was cool to like actually be able to connect to that and like really understand it. So those two songs definitely.
Thank you. So you guys just expanded that list quite a bit. And the cool thing is that it never ends. And everything in nature has its own harmony and rhythm. And our heartbeat, which is our central rhythm, is what sustains us. So that's what keeps us going. So music connection with self. There's a lot of research on how music affects our development. It's why music education is so important and why you had to take music all through like K to 12 school. It can improve your imagination and creativity. It helps with the understanding of abstract concepts. A common tool in therapy is using music to create playlists to help reflect what you're feeling, to kind of put a label on the complex emotions that you're feeling if you're unable to express them. Music has a great influence on our identities and self-expression through creativity. Music that we enjoy might reflect our values, beliefs, and other qualities that we resonate with, and the artists that we listen to as well. Because the brain is such a complex unit, and music involves so much of the brain. Music therapy is used as a treatment to treat those with cognitive decline and dementia and Alzheimer's. And using music for therapy for those with problems with their memory, it allows parts of their brain to turn on, which is pretty cool. It also has quite an effect on our emotions. Many of your favorite songs might make you feel a certain way. When we listen to music, releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical in our brain. The certain timbres of instruments and their tonal qualities might make us feel a certain way. But all that music really boils down to, even when you get into the nitty-gritty of the music theory, it's tension and release. So in music, you'll hear and feel tension that will then release. And that is what causes us to feel certain emotions. So I'm going to play an example for you, but before I do that, I want to hear from you all. What are some songs that make you feel lots of emotions? Happy, sad, anything in between? See a hand back there. TAs.
There's a song called Talala by Jamiroquai, and it has a lot of that tension and release that you were talking about. It's just about a guy who, like, his girlfriend, I think, is like, leaving him, and it's just it's an emotional song, but it's cool. I like it.
There's this song by Fleetwood Mac called Rhiannon, and it reminds me, and it's like talks about like a woman and like uses similes to like compare her to like things of nature like the wind and birds. It's like this idea that like women are like this freeing thing that like men have to like, or other women have to try to like grasp onto, because like, you know, we're so easily able to like just be free in ourselves and be who we are.
Thank you. I see a hand down here.
I really like the song Cornfield Chase by Interstellar. It like makes me feel a lot of emotions. There's a lot of tension in it. And like if you've ever watched the movie, it's about like going into space and stuff. And I think that song like really encapsulate that movie in like a really great way.
Yeah, so thank you. Hans Zimmer, the composer of the soundtrack of Interstellar, does such an incredible job. And I know that a lot of people really like that song especially, but many on the soundtrack because of kind of the ethereal nature that it makes you feel. Yeah, thank you. I'll take one more. If not, that's totally cool. Can move on. Oh, we have one.
Hi,
you.
sorry. I was just gonna say it's pretty popular right now, but it really makes me feel a lot of emotions. Call Your Mom by Noah Kahn. I think it just like it speaks to everything that mental health and every part of that and how hard it can be for people and kind of like the support I feel like I feel when I hear that song, even in my darkest mental health days. And yeah, it just makes me really emotional when I think about what that song has done for me and other people as well.
Thank you. So it's those emotions and feelings that come up when we listen to those songs that connect us to them. And back to the definition of home that we're going to use today is connection to self, others, and the environment. And with that music, because it makes you feel a certain way, helps connect you with you. And if you listen to it with a group of people and you have fond memories that you associate the song with, it connects you with others, perhaps even a location, connects you with the environment. For me, I have an extra strong connection with The Circle Game by Joni Mitchell. Growing up, it was a song that my dad sang to me as a lullaby. And I attended Shavers Creek Summer Camp, and one of the former directors every week would finish camp by playing that song. And I ended up working there and being able to be the one sharing that song with the camp. And I attended outdoor school and was able to use it as a lullaby for my campers. And the song follows kind of the cycle of life of a child growing up. And the last verse ends when they turn 20. So I've now completed all of the verses in that song. and it's kind of followed me through my entire life. So that's a song that I have a pretty strong bond with. So music connection with others. How does it connect us with others? Said earlier that music is thought of as a language, and there's many languages that kind of mimic music in a sense. In Laos and the Canaries in Turkey, there are languages that have whistling that mimic birds, which we're so closely connected with, used to communicate over distance. Because if you remember, the sensitive hearing that we have in that frequency range allows it to be heard. Yodeling, used to call herds of livestock, so even communicating across distances with other species and between those alpine villages. There's many languages in Africa that utilize a clicking sound, which is not too dissimilar from sperm whales. There's a lot of research on the clicking that they communicate with, and researchers have somewhat pieced together a phonetic alphabet of these whale sounds, which is really quite interesting. There are also languages that are tonal languages, such as Mandarin or Thai, where the pitch of a phrase can make it mean one thing, and if you say it on a different pitch, it can mean something totally different, which is quite a foreign concept to those of us who only speak English, because we don't have anything like that. So it's very interesting how big a role that plays in communication. Musicians use music as a language every day. Jazz musicians, when they're trading improv solos, the same parts of the brain light up as when they're having a normal conversation with words. And to think that that kind of creativity works the same way as speaking, it's pretty crazy. Daniel Levitin, a neuroscientist and musician, explains that the musical brain is what helped create human nature. In his book, The World in Six Songs, while explaining the social tensions of groups, so us humans have the largest social groups out of all primates and many mammals. He says that to relieve social tensions in the early days of humans, synchronous coordinated song and movement were what created the strongest bonds between early humans. And that allowed for the formation of larger living groups and society as we know it. So singing together, moving together, dancing together creates connection. And I think a really good example of that is the concert experience. Who here has ever been to a concert, seen live music? Awesome. So that means you're all going to be able to answer my next question. If you've ever watched live music, did you feel connected to those around you? And how was that experience for you? So we can pass the mics out. Share an experience that you had at a concert, singing, connecting with the music and the other people around you. Zach, there's one behind you right there.
I feel like especially at outdoor concerts, that's where I feel most connected. Just like watching the sky change or however the weather is during that time, and just being all together, like watching how everyone else also reacts to the music. I just think that's so special.
Awesome. So you hit all three at once. That's pretty great.
Oh,
Yeah, right over there.
So one thing that I like to do, like with concerts, and usually I do this with friends, is like we'll go and like camp out early so we can be at the very front. But I guess some of the friends, like, because I'm from Texas, so all my friends that I do that with are not here. So I've had to go to concerts by myself, which I actually kind of like because I get to meet a lot of new people. So like this past October, I went and camped out for a show. But it was really cool because there's like three other people that were there with me in line that were all there by themselves. And so we all just kind of like we're able to become friends, and I don't know, it's cool. And then you get to go see your favorite artists, and it's all these new people that you met. And so I don't know, that like connection with the other people is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so that shared interest in the artist is what brought you together. Awesome. We had a hand down here.
I went to a Niall Horan concert over the summer, and me and my cousins, that was the first time we all went as a group. Usually I just go with one other person. And it was so like it was the best time. We danced around, we were in our own world, we didn't care about what anyone thought, and I just felt more connected to them because we were listening to our favorite music and we just the whole world just like around us just went away and we were just able to be with each other.
Awesome. That's such a great experience. Can take one more right over there.
Over the summer, right after I graduated, me and my friends went to a Hosier concert, and that was outside. I remember we were sitting in the grass, and we didn't think to bring a blanket, and so like everybody around us was so nice, and another group of friends who were a little bit older, like gave us their like an extra blanket they had, and I remember we were all just standing up, dancing, listening to his music, especially Hoser, because I feel like his music is very calming in like a different way. So
Thank you. So listening to music and singing together has been shown in many studies to impact the neurochemicals in your brain, many of which play a role in closeness and connection. And a place that's probably very familiar to all of us is in Beaver Stadium. While football games aren't really a concert, the student section experience of singing and that shared experience is probably quite close. So now we're all going to sing, and we're going to experience a little bit of that right here in Bi-Sci 3. And Emma and Autumn, if you guys want to come down, awesome. So I'm going to teach you a song. Unfortunately, I don't have control over your grades, but please participate. So you're just going to repeat after me. Do you think we can do it? Thumbs up. I love the mountains. I love the rolling hills. You guys sound great. Awesome. We're going to keep going. I love the flowers. I love the daffodils. I love the fireside when all the lights are low. Round of applause. Round of applause. We're going to keep going though. Do you think that we can sing it all together? Yeah? All right. 1, 2, ready, sing. I love the mountains. I love the rolling hills. I love the flowers. I love the daffodils. I love the fireside when all the lights are low. And after we sing that, boom de-ada, boom de-ada, boom de-ada, boom de-ada. All right, we're gonna sing through that one more time. And then I have a special twist where Jen or Autumn and Emma will help me out. All right, sing through the whole thing. 1, 2, ready, sing. I love the mountains. I love the rolling hills. I love the flowers. I love the daffodils. I love the fireside when all the lights are low. Boom de yada, boom de yada, boom de yada, boom de yada, boom. So we're gonna have section 1 right over here. Section 2 will be in the middle, and section 3 will be over here with Autumn. So we're going to sing in what's called a round, which means that we will all start and end at different times. So group 1 will start and sing, I love the mountains, I love the rolling hills. And then group 2 will start, I love the mountains, I love the rolling hills. And then group 3 will start. So try and stay on track. You'll be singing different things from the people across the aisle. And we're going to sing through it twice in its entirety. Are we ready? All right. Group 1. 1, 2, ready. I love the mountains. I love the rolling hills. I love the mountains. I love the rolling hills. I love the flowers. I love the daffodils. So before we leave, you still got 5 minutes. We're going to pass the mics out. Oh, is it time? I thought it was 10. Never mind. Listen to some good music today. Thank you. There's an extra credit movie tonight, 7 p.m. Music Building 117. It's on the Instagram. Which LC is leading it?
Ashley, wait, no, Christine leads it.
Christine, Chris is leading the movie. Go watch the movie. Get that extra credit.